to the ITSM Practice Podcast.
The cybersecurity industry spent 20 years protecting networks while identities became invisible infrastructure. Now AI is exposing the mistake, and the uncomfortable part is this. Most enterprises never consciously choose identity as their perimeter. It happened accidentally. Cloud happened. Software as a service happened. Remote work happened. APIs happened. And now, Agentic AI is happening faster than organizations can govern it. That is the real issue, not AI adoption, speed. Because enterprises are introducing autonomous agents into environments where they already struggled to govern human identities properly. So, I think chief information officers, chief information security officers should ask themselves right now, if we were not good at managing human identity and access management, why do we believe we will suddenly become good at managing identity and access management? Agentic. Nobody wants to answer that honestly. I believe most enterprises misunderstood zero trust from day one, not conceptually, operationally. Zero trust became a procurement category instead of a design philosophy. The market translated an architectural principle into a shopping exercise. More dashboards, more telemetry, more platforms, more identity products layered on top of organizational models that never changed fundamentally. But layers of tools is not design. And this is where many zero trust programs failed. Because a zero trust tool still depends on a zero trust oriented operating model. If the organization itself is built around implicit trust, fragmented ownership, excessive privilege, and unclear accountability, the tooling cannot fix the architecture underneath. NIST actually warned about this years ago in its zero trust architecture guidance. Zero trust was never supposed to be a product. It was supposed to be a redesign of trust itself. Most enterprises skipped that part. The perimeter never disappeared. We just stopped noticing where it moved. And it moved into identity, not only human identity, machine identity, service identity, API identity, workload identity, agent identity. Today, many enterprises already have more non-human identities than human users. And most leadership teams could not tell you who owns them, who governs them, what they can access, or what happens if they fail. And this becomes dangerous with AI because the agents are not passive systems anymore. They act. They make decisions, they trigger workflows, they invoke APIs, they reset permissions, they orchestrate processes, and most organizations are still governing them with identity models originally designed for employees logging into laptops. And that gap is where the next generation of breaches will emerge. Look carefully at the breaches we already know. The MGM Resource cyber attack was not fundamentally a firewall story. Attackers reportedly manipulated identity workflows connected to Okta environments through social engineering and help desk processes. The attackers did not need to defeat the perimeter. They became trusted identities inside the trust model itself. The same pattern appeared in the Snowflake customer data breach. Credential exposure, weak MFA enforcement, identity hygiene failures. Again, the decisive weakness was identity governance, not network segmentation. And then there was Uber. MFA fatigue attacks, compromised credentials, privilege escalations through trusted access path. Different companies, different architectures, same lesson. Modern attackers increasingly target trust relationships instead of infrastructure, because identity became the operational center of the enterprise long before most organizations realized it. Now, add AI agents to this environment. This is where the conversation stops being theoretical. If your AI agent can approve transactions, change configurations, escalate privileges, or coordinate operational workflows, then your identity architecture is no longer just a security layer. It becomes the governance layer of the company. And I do not think most enterprises are psychologically prepared for that shift yet. Because many organizations still think identity is an identity and access management problem. It is not. Identity is becoming the operational control plane of digital business. The moment an AI agent acts autonomously, your identity architecture starts behaving like a corporate constitution. It defines authority, delegation, accountability, and operational legitimacy. That is a very different discussion from password policies and MFA rollout percentages. This is also why the latest guidance from the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the European Union AI Act matters. Not because of compliance, because both are indirectly pointing toward the same reality. AI governance without identity governance is impossible. You cannot govern what you cannot attribute. You cannot secure what you cannot authenticate. And you cannot build trustworthy AI systems on top of fragmented trust models, especially when autonomous systems are increasingly making operational decisions at machine speed. I think this is the part many chief information officers and chief information security officers still underestimate. AI is not simply introducing automation. AI is introducing delegated autonomy at enterprise scale. And that changes the nature of operational risk completely. Because eventually, organizations will start depending on agents operationally, not experimentally, not tactically, structurally. And when that happens, a new question appears, a very uncomfortable question. If one day you switch off those agents, who will understand the process well enough to run the business? Who will still owns the knowledge? Who still understands the decision chain? Who still validates the outcome? Because operational dependency without governance is not transformation, it's unmanaged delegation. And this is why I believe many enterprises are moving too fast. Not from a technological point of view, but from an organizational point of view. The market is optimizing for AI adoption speed, while governance maturity remains dangerously behind. And history tells us what happens when operational complexity scales faster than governance models. The organization loses visibility first, then accountability, then control. So before introducing Agentic AI deeper into your enterprise, ask yourself a few very direct questions. Does your operating model actually support autonomous identities? Do you know which agents have which privileges? Can you explain their decision boundaries? Can you revoke their authority safely? Can your governance model survive machine-scale delegation? And maybe the most important question of all, are you redesigning trust itself? Or are you simply layering AI on top of operating models that were already failing before AI arrived? Because the organization that survived the AI era will not necessarily be the ones with the biggest models or the fastest adoption. They will be the organizations that master identity as an operating principles. Because in the age of AI, identity is no longer the security perimeter. Identity is becoming the enterprise itself. I'm Luigi Ferri, And this was the ITSM Practice Podcast. Arrivederci.